Be me Connor, a copywriter. Not a rock star, not a genius, just a guy who's good with words. For about 5 years, I worked at what I can honestly say was the best advertising agency in the city. Not the biggest, not the most famous, but the best. Our office wasn't some flashy glass and steel monstrosity. It was a converted warehouse with exposed brick, worn-out leather couches, and a whiteboard wall that was permanently covered in a chaotic mess of slogans, sketches, and bad jokes. The place ran on 3 things: coffee, talent, and mutual respect. The culture was simple. You were judged on one thing and one thing only: the quality of your work. Nobody cared what you did on weekends, what your politics were, or how you dressed. If your ideas made clients money, you were golden. If they didn't, you weren't there for long. Pure meritocracy. It was beautiful. At the heart of this creative engine was Liam, our senior creative director. Liam was in his late 40s, looked perpetually tired, and had the most cynical, deadpan sense of humor I've ever encountered. He was a creative purist. He hated meetings, hated corporate jargon, and hated anything that got in the way of a good idea. But the man was a certified genius. I remember one time we were all stuck. A huge potential client, a manufacturer of commercial truck tires. Talk about a boring product. We'd been throwing ideas at the wall for a week, and nothing was sticking. The team was burned out. Morale was low. We were in the conference room late one night, surrounded by empty pizza boxes. Liam had been quiet the whole time, just doodling on a notepad. Suddenly, he tears off a sheet, slides it across the table, and just says, "There." On the paper was a rough sketch of a lone truck driving through a desert at sunset. Underneath, he'd written a 5-word slogan. It was perfect, simple, powerful, and it captured everything the client wanted to be about: reliability, endurance, the heart of the country. The room went silent for a second, then just erupted. That was it. That was the campaign. His other half was Noah. Noah was our lead designer. Young guy, maybe mid-20s, painfully shy. I think I heard him speak in full sentences maybe a dozen times in all the years I knew him. He communicated through his art. You could give him the most abstract concept, a feeling, a single word, and he'd come back with a visual that would blow your mind. Liam would have the spark of an idea, and Noah would be the one to build a star out of it. That night, Noah took Liam's napkin sketch. He didn't say a word, just nodded, took it back to his desk, and put on his headphones. The rest of us went home to get some sleep. I came in the next morning, and Noah was still there. He hadn't slept. On his monitor was a fully realized 20-page presentation deck. He'd built an entire brand identity around that one sketch. Logos, color palettes, mock-ups for print ads and web banners. It was breathtaking. We presented it to the tire company a few days later. They signed a 3-year, multi-million-dollar contract before we even finished the presentation. That was our agency. A place where a cynical veteran and a quiet kid could create magic because they were given the freedom to do what they did best. We worked hard, but it never felt like a grind. We were a team of professionals who respected each other's talent. Then, sometime in the spring, the email went out. Our old head of HR, a nice woman who mostly handled payroll and benefits, was retiring. The CEO had hired a replacement. Her name was Pearl. We had an all-hands meeting to introduce her. She walked to the front of the room with that specific kind of forced corporate smile. She looked like she was assembled from a kit of modern HR cliches: sharp blazer, trendy glasses, and a vocabulary filled with the latest buzzwords. She gave a speech. It wasn't about streamlining benefits or making payroll more efficient. It was about realigning our corporate culture. She talked about fostering psychological safety, interrogating our internal biases, and building a new, more equitable paradigm. I looked around the room. Most people had the same confused, slightly bored look on their faces. This was just the usual corporate nonsense we'd have to ignore for a few weeks until it blew over. Liam wasn't even looking at her. He was sitting in the back, sketching in his notepad as usual. Pearl noticed. I saw her smile tighten just a little bit at the corners. That should have been the first red flag. For a month, nothing much happened. We were neck deep in a huge project for our biggest client, a beverage company. It was our most important account, the one that paid for our nice office and fancy coffee machine. The campaign launch was in 6 weeks. Everyone was in crunch mode. Then the second email arrived. The subject line was Mandatory Workshop, Inclusivity, Ethics, and the Modern Workplace. The email explained that all creative staff were required to attend a 3-day, off-site workshop led by Pearl. 3 full days, right in the middle of our most critical project of the year. Participation was not optional. People started grumbling immediately. 3 days was an eternity in agency time. That's 3 days of not writing copy, not designing layouts, not getting client feedback. This would put the project timeline in serious jeopardy. But the email had a certain passive-aggressive finality to it. You got the sense that complaining would just get your name on a list. So, on a Tuesday morning, we all filed into a sterile, rented conference room in some downtown hotel. The mood was like a funeral. Pearl stood at the front, beaming, next to a whiteboard, with Day 1, Unpacking Our Privilege, written on it. Oh boy. The first activity was called the Privilege Circle. We had to sit in a circle, and one by one, we had to acknowledge the unearned advantages that have helped us in life. It was as awkward and uncomfortable as it sounds. People mumbled things about their parents being supportive or growing up in a safe neighborhood. It was a public shaming session disguised as a therapy exercise. When it was Noah's turn, he looked like a deer in headlights. He hated being the center of attention. He hesitated for a long time, then just quietly said, "I'm good at drawing." The room was silent. Pearl just stared at him, her smile gone. She said, "That's a skill, Noah, not a privilege. Let's talk about the societal structures that gave you the opportunity to develop that skill." Noah just shrank in his chair. He looked down at his hands and didn't say another word for the rest of the day. I saw something in him break a little bit. This was a kid who lived and breathed art. His skill was his identity, and she had just dismissed it as a product of some system. That afternoon, things got even more absurd. We had to do role-playing exercises. Pearl handed out laminated cards with scenarios about microaggressions. My card described a situation where I see a female colleague struggling to lift a heavy box of printer paper. My problematic action was to offer to help her. The person playing the female colleague was supposed to respond by explaining how my offer was based on the harmful assumption that she was weak. We had to act this out in front of everyone. It was the most stilted, unnatural, and useless exercise I've ever been a part of. Work on the massive beverage campaign had completely ground to a halt. But here we were, in a beige hotel conference room, acting out bizarre little plays about not helping people lift boxes. Liam was simmering. He hadn't said much all day, just sat in the back with his arms crossed, a thunderous look on his face. On the morning of Day 2, he finally snapped. The topic was identifying toxic masculinity in creative feedback. Pearl was explaining that phrases like, "I don't think this idea is strong enough," could be perceived as aggressive and harmful. She suggested softer alternatives like, "Thank you for sharing. How can we, as a group, nurture this idea to help it grow?" Liam let out a short, sharp laugh. It wasn't a happy sound. Pearl stopped talking and looked right at him. "Is something funny, Liam?" He stood up. "Yes," he said, his voice dangerously calm. "This whole thing is funny." We have a multi-million-dollar campaign to deliver in less than 5 weeks, and we are in here learning how to talk about our feelings instead of doing our jobs." He gestured to the whole room. "These are professionals. They don't need to be coddled. They need to be working. This is an incredible waste of time and talent." Pearl's face turned to stone. "Your resistance to this process is a perfect example of the exact workplace toxicity we are here to dismantle," she said, her voice dripping with condescension. "This isn't resistance," Liam shot back. "It's logic. Our biggest client is expecting a world-class campaign. They are not paying us to nurture ideas. They are paying us for results. Results we cannot deliver if you keep us locked in this room." He didn't even wait for a reply. He just turned around, walked out of the conference room, and slammed the door behind him. The rest of us just sat there in stunned silence. Pearl looked shaken for a moment. Then she composed herself. "Well," she said with a tight smile, "it appears some of us have more work to do on our personal journeys than others." The rest of the workshop was useless. The air had been sucked out of the room. Everyone was just counting down the minutes until we could escape. When we finally got back to the office on Friday, the atmosphere was grim. We had lost 3 full days. The pressure was immense. People tried to get back to work, but the damage was done. The creative momentum was gone. That afternoon, I saw Liam go into the CEO's office. The door was closed, but they were in there for almost an hour. I prayed, that the CEO would see reason. Our CEO was a decent guy, but he was terrified of bad PR. His main concern was always how the company looked from the outside. Liam came out of the office looking like a man who had just lost a fight. He walked straight to his desk, didn't look at anyone, and started packing his bag. Later, I found out what happened. Liam had laid it all out for the CEO. He explained that Pearl's initiatives were not just annoying, they were actively harming the business. He said that her approach was creating a culture of fear and resentment, and that it was crippling their ability to do good work. He gave the CEO an ultimatum. Either she goes, or the beverage campaign is going to fail, and he, Liam, could not be held responsible for the fallout. The CEO listened patiently. Then he told Liam that his hands were tied. He said that Pearl came highly recommended for her work in corporate social responsibility. He said firing her after she had just initiated these workshops would be a PR nightmare. Imagine the headlines, Liam. Creative agency fires diversity chief for trying to fix toxic culture. We'd be destroyed on social media. The CEO asked him to just be a team player and try to see her perspective. He chose the appearance of virtue over the reality of his own company's success. He chose to protect himself from a hypothetical Twitter mob instead of protecting the man who had built his agency. That was the moment our company died. We just didn't know it yet. Liam went home early that Friday. I saw him walk past Noah's desk and put a hand on his shoulder. He said something too quiet for me to hear. Noah just nodded, not looking up from his screen. There was a feeling of dread in the air. The weekend came and went. On Monday morning, Noah's desk was empty. There was an email from the CEO in our inboxes. It was a short, sterile message announcing that Noah had resigned to pursue other opportunities. It thanked him for his contributions and wished him well. No farewell party, no goodbyes. He had just vanished. The creative department felt like a ghost town. Noah was the quiet heart of it. His absence was a physical presence. People were whispering all day. Where did he go? What happened? By lunch, the news had broken. He'd accepted a job at our biggest competitor, a place that had been trying to poach him for years. They probably doubled his salary. But I knew it wasn't about the money. It was about respect. They weren't going to make him sit in a circle and apologize for being talented. They were going to let him create. Liam didn't even seem surprised. He walked into the office around 10 a.m. holding a cardboard box. He didn't go to his desk. He walked straight to the CEO's office. He was in there for less than 5 minutes. He came out, walked over to me, and put out his hand. "It's been a pleasure, Connor." And that was it. Our genius was gone. The two pillars that held the entire creative side of the agency up had been removed in the span of a few hours. Pearl sent out an email that afternoon. It was about moving forward into a new and exciting chapter, and the opportunity to bring in fresh voices that align with our core values. I read it and felt sick to my stomach. She wasn't just clueless. She was celebrating. She had won. She had driven out the toxic elements and could now build her utopia. She had no idea that she was now the queen of a pile of ashes. The exodus started the next day. It wasn't a dramatic shouting match kind of thing. It was quiet, professional, deadly. Two of our best copywriters, one of whom was my deskmate and a good friend, put in their 2 weeks' notice. They had both received calls from Liam. He was starting his own small, specialized agency and wanted his best people with him. Of course, they said yes. They were loyal to him, not to a company that had just let him walk out the door. A week later, the senior art director and 3 other key designers followed. The entire core of the creative team, the people who had won the awards and landed the big clients, was gone in less than a month. Each departure was announced with the same cold corporate email from the CEO. We wish them well in their future endeavors. The office started to feel hollowed out. There were so many empty desks. The constant buzz of creative energy was replaced by an awkward, library-like silence. Those of us who remained were walking on eggshells. We were the ones with mortgages, with kids, the ones who couldn't afford to just quit without something else lined up. We kept our heads down and tried to salvage the beverage campaign. It was a disaster. The heart and soul of the project had been ripped out. We had the skeleton of a great campaign, but no one left had the talent to put the meat on the bones. Pearl, meanwhile, was in her element. She was now in charge of rebuilding the creative department from scratch. The hiring process was a spectacle. I sat in on a few interviews as the senior creative left in the department. Pearl didn't ask candidates about their portfolio, their past campaigns, or their creative process. Her questions were all about their values. Describe a time you challenged a problematic narrative in a team setting. How do you see your work contributing to social justice? What are your pronouns? We ended up hiring a handful of recent graduates. They had impeccable academic credentials in fields I'd never heard of, and their social media feeds were pristine examples of modern activism. What they didn't have was a shred of actual demonstrable talent. Their portfolios were filled with passion projects and conceptual art pieces, nothing that showed they could sell a can of soda. The new team was different. They spent more time debating the socio-political implications of a font choice than actually designing anything. Every meeting became a minefield of jargon and ideology. You couldn't give direct feedback without being accused of stifling their voice. The work they produced was terrible. It was safe, generic, and completely devoid of personality. Every idea felt like it had been run through a committee of corporate lawyers and campus activists. It was the kind of advertising that people actively ignore. We cobbled together a final presentation for the beverage client. It was a bloodbath. The client was expecting the usual Liam and Noah magic. Instead, we presented them with a series of bland, soulless concepts that looked like stock photos with slogans written by a bot. I've never seen a client get so angry in a meeting before. The account director looked at us with a mixture of confusion and betrayal. He asked point blank, "Where's Liam? Where's Noah? What is this?" Our CEO tried to spin it, talking about our new creative direction and fresh perspectives. The client wasn't buying it. They cut the meeting short. 2 days later, we got the official notification. They were terminating our contract, effective immediately. This wasn't just losing a client. This was losing the client, the one that accounted for nearly 40% of our annual revenue. The news hit the office like a shockwave. Now everyone was scared. The quiet grumbling turned into open panic. The financial reality of what had happened was starting to sink in. We were in a death spiral. Without our star talent, we couldn't keep our best clients. Without our best clients, we couldn't afford to hire new talent. It was over. The magic was gone. The CEO called Pearl into his office that afternoon. For the first time, he looked genuinely furious. The fear of bad PR had been replaced by the fear of bankruptcy. I couldn't hear what was said, but the shouting was audible through the closed door. It was the first time I'd ever heard him raise his voice. She came out about half an hour later. Her face was pale and her eyes were red. He didn't fire her. Even then, he was too much of a coward. But he had clearly laid the blame for this catastrophe squarely at her feet. He had told her that the massive hole in our budget was now her problem to solve. The irony was thick enough to choke on. She, the HR manager, was now responsible for overseeing the layoffs that were inevitably coming. She had to dismantle the very team she had so carefully built based on her ideals. She had gotten everything she wanted. She had created her safe space. She was surrounded by people who aligned with her core values. And now she had to look them in the eye and tell them they no longer had a job because the company was broke. I handed in my resignation the next morning. There was no point in sticking around to watch the ship sink. My exit interview was with Pearl. It was just the two of us in her office. She looked exhausted, defeated. She went through the standard checklist of questions without any of her usual ideological fervor. At the end, she looked up at me, and for the first time, I saw something other than smug certainty in her eyes. She asked, "Was it really so bad here before?" I thought about it for a moment. I thought about the late nights fueled by pizza and creativity. I thought about Liam's napkin sketch and Noah's overnight design marathon. I thought about the feeling of being part of a team that respected talent above all else. "No, Pearl," I said. "It wasn't bad. It was great. You just couldn't see it." I don't know if she understood. I don't think she was capable of it. In her worldview, a place like our old agency couldn't be great. It had to be problematic. It had to be fixed. She was like a doctor who insists on performing surgery on a perfectly healthy patient. She couldn't stop until she had broken something. On my last day, I packed my small box of belongings and walked out the door without looking back. The place was a tomb. The few remaining employees looked like ghosts, just waiting for the inevitable. That evening, I met up with the old crew for drinks. Liam, Noah, the other writers and designers. We were all there. Liam's new agency had just landed its first big client. Noah was already winning awards at his new job. Everyone was happier, more relaxed. They were back in an environment where their skills were valued. We were all laughing and trading stories about the old days. Liam raised his glass for a toast. He looked around at all of us, the team he had built, the team that had followed him. "To competence," he said. "It's the only thing that really matters." We all clinked our glasses together. About 6 months later, I walked past our old office building. There was a for lease sign in the window. The agency was gone. All that talent, all that success, all those years of hard work, erased. Not by a bad economy, not by a competitor, but from within. It rotted from the head down, poisoned by an ideology that valued feeling good over being good. They didn't just lose their best employees, they lost the very idea that being the best was something worth striving for. And that's a lesson I'll never forget.
Be me, 35, event planner running my own business in Nashville. Make around $72,000 after expenses. Rent a loft in East Nashville. Been building my client list for 5 years. Finally stable. Do weddings, corporate events, milestone parties, all kinds of celebrations. It's rewarding but exhausting. Always hustling for next booking. Been single for most of my 20s, focused on getting business off the ground. Finally at place where I can think about serious relationship. Tired of dating musicians and bartenders who don't have their shit together. Nashville dating scene is rough. A lot of transient people chasing dreams. About a year ago, discover female dating strategy subreddit. It's like everything clicks in a place, finally a community that gets it. Women need to stop settling. Need to demand high-value men. Stop giving men everything while getting nothing in return. The handbook is clear. Know your worth. Make him prove his value. Never settle. I read everything. Absorb all the principles. This is how I should have been dating. Start implementing FDS strategies on dating apps immediately. No coffee dates. That's low effort. Dinner dates only at nice restaurants. He pays for everything. I'm the prize. He needs to invest to show seriousness. Ghost anyone who suggests splitting the bill or doing something cheap. Low-value male energy, not worth my time next. Go on maybe 21st dates over 6 months. None lead to second dates. Either they're put off by my standards or I'm put off by their lack of effort. Nashville has a lot of guys in service industry. They don't meet my financial standards. Need someone established, someone who can actually invest properly. Then I meet Jason, 36, project manager at construction company. He takes me to nice restaurant in Germantown, orders wine, pays without hesitation. Conversation is good. He's got stable career, owns a house in East Nashville, has his shit together. Passes the first date test. I agree to see him again. Second date, he plans whole day, Cheekwood Gardens, then dinner at fancy steakhouse. Pays for everything, doesn't even flinch at the bill. I'm impressed. Finally a man who knows how to court a woman properly. We start dating seriously, become official after 2 months. He's making $88,000 salary. I'm making $72,000 with my business. Pretty close in income, but FDS is clear. The man should still be the provider. Even if women make their own money, he should add financial value to our lives. So I expect him to pay for dates, pay for trips, handle the big expenses. I pay for some groceries when we're at his place, small stuff, token contributions. But the real investments, the dinners, the experiences, that's his job. Jason doesn't complain at first. He seems happy to take care of things. But I notice him sometimes hesitating when I suggest expensive restaurants. Or mentioning he needs to save money for house repairs. Red flag. A high-value man doesn't stress about money. If he's struggling to take me to nice dinners, maybe he's not as high value as I thought. Month 3, I start implementing more FDS principles. Testing his commitment, seeing if he's really invested in me. Tell him I'm stressed about a demanding client. See if he drops everything to comfort me. He says he has a site visit that afternoon, but can come over after work around 6 p.m. Not good enough. A high-value man prioritizes his woman. I tell him never mind. Let him know I'm disappointed. He apologizes, seems confused about what he did wrong. Good. He should be thinking about how to do better. Start creating lists of things he could improve on. Not demanding, just suggestions for his personal development. His wardrobe is very construction/casual, lots of jeans and work boots. Send him links to nicer brands, more sophisticated styles. You'd look amazing in this. It's more polished for when we go out. His truck is a 2014 Ford F-150, practical for his job, but not impressive. Have you thought about getting a nicer vehicle for personal use? First impressions matter. The truck is very utilitarian. His hobbies are hunting, fishing, Nashville Predators games, very typical guy stuff. Maybe explore some more cultured interests, wine bars, art galleries, live music venues. He takes it well at first. Seems like he wants to make me happy. Buys a few nicer shirts for dates. Talks about maybe getting a second vehicle eventually. But I can tell he's feeling pressured. He's quieter around me. Month 5, I increase the standards. This is FDS strategy. The right man will rise to meet your standards. The wrong one will show himself. Tell him I need more quality time. One date night per week isn't enough. We should be doing something special at least 3 times a week. If you're serious about me, you'll make time. You'll make me a priority. He's concerned. I have early mornings on job sites and I need some downtime too. High-value men make time for what matters. Do I not matter? He agrees to try. We start seeing each other more frequently. But I can tell he's tired. Job sites are physically demanding. Tell him he needs to work on his energy, his presence. When we're together, I need you fully present, fully engaged. He's trying. I can see him trying, but it's not effortless. If he was really high value, this would be natural for him. Month 6, his brother is getting married, wedding in Gatlinburg. Jason asks if I want to come, says whole family will be there, mountain venue. I ask if he's paying for the hotel room for the weekend. He hesitates. I'm already spending $800 on my tux rental and gifts. Maybe we could split the hotel? It's $400 for 2 nights. Absolutely not. I'm not paying to attend his family wedding. If he wants me there, if I'm adding value to his family experience, he pays. Tell him I'll think about it. FDS would say this is a test. He should want to pay for me, should insist on it. The fact that he's hesitating means he's not invested enough. Decide not to go. Tell him I have an event that weekend anyway. He's disappointed, but goes alone, posts photos with his family. I'm annoyed. He seems fine without me. Shouldn't he miss me more? When he gets back, I tell him we need to talk about the relationship. I don't feel like you're investing in us the way you should be. The wedding situation showed me you're not ready to prioritize me. He's confused. I asked you to come. You said you had a client event. You should have insisted on paying for me, made me feel valued. I'm already spending almost $1,000 on this wedding. That's not how a high-value man thinks. A real man doesn't nickel and dime. He's quiet, processing, then says something that surprises me. I feel like nothing I do is ever good enough for you. I take you to nice places, I plan dates, I spend time with you. But you're always pointing out what I could do better. I'm ready for this. FDS talks about male defensiveness. I'm not attacking you. I'm helping you grow. A high-value woman makes her man better, pushes him to improve. If you feel criticized, maybe you need to examine why. He doesn't have a response. Conversation ends tensely. Month 7, things are getting strained. He's still taking me out, but there's less enthusiasm. Conversations feel forced. He's not sharing as much about work. I confront him. You're being distant. What's going on? I'm just tired. We're on a tight deadline for a commercial project. Or maybe you're pulling away because you're not ready for a real relationship. He's frustrated now. I can see it building. I am ready for a real relationship, but I don't know what you want from me. Every time I think things are good, you tell me I need to do more. Because growth is important. Complacency is death for relationships. This isn't growth. This is you constantly moving the goalposts. Red flag. He's getting defensive, resistant to feedback. This is exactly what FDS warns about, low-value males who can't handle standards. Month 8, I give him an ultimatum. This is FDS approved. I need to know if you're serious about leveling up. I'm 35. I'm not wasting time on someone who's not committed to growth. Either you step up or I need to consider my options. He looks hurt, genuinely hurt, but I hold firm. What does stepping up look like to you? Better presence, more investment, showing me I'm your priority. Planning our future, talking about timelines, being intentional. He's quiet for a long time, then says, I love you, but I don't think I can be what you're asking. I feel like I'm constantly being evaluated and coming up short. I'm shocked. Did he just say he can't do it? So you're choosing mediocrity over growth. I'm choosing my mental health over constant criticism. He leaves, says he needs time to think. I'm upset, but also convinced I'm right. FDS community will validate this. Post about it on FDS. Boyfriend can't handle my standards. Comments are supportive. He's low value. You dodge a bullet. A high-value man would rise to meet your standards. Feel validated. He's the problem, not me. Week later, He texts asking to meet up, talk things through. I agree, thinking he's going to apologize, commit to doing better. We meet at coffee shop in 5 Points. He looks different, calmer, resolved. I've been thinking a lot about us, about what you said. Here it comes, the commitment, the growth pledge. I think we should break up. Wait, what? No, that's not how this was supposed to go. I care about you, but this relationship makes me feel terrible about myself. Nothing I do is ever enough. I'm always falling short. I'm a good person. I work hard. I'm loyal. I'm caring. But you've convinced me I'm not good enough, and I can't live like that. I'm scrambling. I was just pushing you to be your best self. You were pushing me to be someone I'm not. Someone who can afford $150 dinners 3 times a week. Someone who doesn't need downtime after 10-hour days on construction sites. Someone who proves his worth through constant spending and grand gestures. He's been thinking about this. He's prepared. I hope you find what you're looking for. But I'm going to find someone who likes me for who I am. He leaves. It's over just like that. I'm in shock. Convinced myself he'd come back apologizing. Post on FDS. He broke up with me for having standards. Community rallies. He was low value anyway. You'll find better. But I feel terrible. Empty. Did I push too hard? No. FDS is clear. The right man will meet your standards. He wasn't the right man. That's all. I need to keep looking. Start dating again immediately, back on the apps. But now I'm 35, turning 36 soon. Dating pool feels different. Nashville is full of younger women, honky-donk tourists, Broadway party scene. Guys my age want women who are easygoing and fun. Code for no standards, for women who'll accept anything. I'm not that woman. I refuse to settle. Month 2 after breakup, friend tells me Jason has a new girlfriend. Her name is Amy. She's 33, works as a nurse at Vanderbilt. Look her up on Instagram. She's pretty, but not stunning, very girl next door. Posts are basic. Her and Jason at Predators games, hiking at Radnor Lake. Casual dinners at local spots, nothing fancy, just normal couple stuff. He looks happy though, genuinely happy, smiling in every photo. Didn't smile like that with me, at least not toward the end. My friend says she met Amy at a bonfire, says she's really sweet. She seems to just appreciate Jason for who he is. They seem really comfortable together, very natural. Feel a pang of jealousy. Why her? What does she have that I don't? She's younger, sure, but not by much, and I'm more accomplished. I run my own business. I have better style, higher standards. But he chose easy over growth. Month 4, see on Instagram, they're taking a trip together. Just a weekend to Smoky Mountains, nothing fancy, cabin rental. They look happy, stupidly happy. Her in his flannel, him grilling on porch. Comments are full of people saying cute couple, relationship goals. Relationship goals? They're in a basic cabin, that's not goals. But something about the photos bothers me, the ease of it. They look like they're just enjoying each other, no pressure, no tests. Month 6, I'm still single. Dating is exhausting. Nashville dating scene is brutal. So many options, but nothing substantial. Every date feels like an evaluation, me evaluating them evaluating me. Guys say I'm intense or high maintenance. I'm not high maintenance. I just know what I deserve. One guy seemed promising, worked in finance, took me to nice places. Third date, I mentioned I don't settle for low effort. He asked what that meant. I explained my standards. He listened carefully, then said, "That sounds exhausting. Having to constantly prove myself, jump through hoops. I'm looking for a partner, not an audition." Didn't call me again, another one who can't handle standards. Month 8, I'm 36 now. Birthday was hard. Thought I'd be engaged by now, at least in serious relationship. Instead, I'm back on apps, swiping through same types. Guys who don't meet standards, guys who seem promising, then disappoint. See Jason's Instagram again. They're at a wedding together. She's in a simple dress. He's in a suit. They're dancing. He's looking at her. The way he's looking at her, like she's everything. He never looked at me like that. Why didn't he look at me like that? Comment section has someone asking, "When are you two getting married?" He replies with heart emoji, hoping soon. Soon? They've been together 8 months. Same time we were together. But with me, he seemed reluctant, stressed, constantly falling short. With her, he's talking about marriage, about future, about hope. Month 10, friend who knows both of us tells me they're engaged. He proposed on a hike at Percy Warner Park. Simple ring, nothing extravagant. She said yes immediately, posted photo, they look radiant. I said yes to my best friend. Her caption says, best friend, that's what she calls him, simple, uncomplicated. I call him my partner, my project, my potential. Never called him my best friend, never saw him that simply. Friend says Jason seems like different person. He's lighter, happier, more himself. Amy just lets it be who he is, loves his hunting and fishing. She goes to Predators games with him, wears his jersey. There's judgment in her voice, subtle, but I hear it, implying I didn't let him be himself. I pushed too hard. She's wrong. I was helping him grow, become better. But was I? Or was I just making him feel inadequate? Month 12, I'm 37, still single. Dating pool is rough. Guys my age are dating younger women or divorced with kids. Or they're musicians who'll never have stable income. Or they're in finance/tech and want trophy wives, not entrepreneurs. I'm still following FDS, still maintaining standards. But it's lonely, really lonely, coming home to empty loft. No one to talk to, no one to share meals with, no one who cares. Standards are supposed to protect me, supposed to ensure quality. But what's the point of standards if they leave you alone? Business is doing well, booked solid through next year. Just coordinated beautiful wedding at Belle Meade Plantation. Watched couple exchange vows, saw how they looked at each other. Reminded me of how Jason looks at Amy now. Never looked at me that way, because I never let him. Month 14, see Jason and Amy got married. Small ceremony at the Grove at Williamson Place, outdoor venue. Photos look beautiful, simple, genuine, full of love. He's crying in one photo, watching her walk down aisle. Comments from friends, perfect couple, so much love. One comment from his mom, finally seeing my son truly happy. Finally? Was he not happy before? Was he not happy with me? I made him better, pushed him to improve, helped him grow. But did I make him happy? Did I even try to make him happy? Or was I so focused on leveling him up that I forgot to love him? Month 16, have moment of clarity, painful clarity. Sitting alone on Friday night, scrolling through dating apps. All the profiles blur together, all the requirements I have. Must make 80K plus, must own property, must have ambition, must be willing to invest, must prioritize me, must meet standards. These aren't wrong, I deserve these things. But Jason made 88K, owned a house, was incredibly ambitious, was willing to invest, did prioritize me, try to meet standards. And I pushed him away because it wasn't enough. Because he couldn't do expensive dinners 3 times a week. Because he wanted to split costs on a trip he was already spending hundreds on. Because he needed downtime after physical labor and had hobbies I deemed basic. Was that fair? Was I fair to him? FDS said he was low value, said I dodged a bullet. But he's married now, happy, building a life with someone. And I'm here, alone, still looking, still evaluating, still waiting. For what? For someone who doesn't exist? Month 18, stop following FDS, delete the app. Can't do it anymore, can't maintain the mindset. Every post is about what men should do, how they should perform. Nothing about what we bring, how we show up, whether we're kind. It's all strategy, all testing, all evaluating worth. When did dating become this? When did love become a performance? Start therapy. Need to process what happened with Jason. Therapist asks, what did you love about him? I talk about his stability, his house, his income, his potential. She stops me. What did you love about him as a person? I'm quiet, trying to think, what did I love about him? His patience? His loyalty? The way he talked about his family? I don't know. I was so focused on what he should become that I never appreciated who he was. Do you think he felt loved by you? Therapist asks. The question breaks something in me. The answer is obvious. No, he didn't feel loved. He felt evaluated, judged, inadequate. I loved his potential, his trajectory, his ability to level up. I didn't love him. I loved the project of improving him. Month 20, see social media post. Amy is pregnant. They're having a baby. Jason is going to be a father. Photo of him kissing her belly, pure joy on his face. Caption, growing our family with my favorite person. The life I could have had, should have had, if I'd been different. If I'd loved him instead of trying to change him. If I'd appreciated him instead of constantly pushing for more. Month 24, I'm 38 now. Dating is brutal. Nashville is young city, full of transplants in their 20s. Men my age want women in early 30s, younger if possible. I'm aging out of my own demographic. It's harsh reality. The few men interested in me are ones I would have rejected at 35. Divorced with kids, working service jobs, no ambition. The high-value men FDS promised would come, they don't exist. Or they do, but they're choosing younger women without standards. Women who are easygoing, who appreciate them, who don't test. Month 30, run into Jason and Amy at Whole Foods in Green Hills. She's very pregnant, glowing, he's hovering protectively. Sees me, face changes, uncomfortable but polite. Hey, how are you? Good, yeah, business is busy, you know? He introduces Amy. She's gracious, kind, no jealousy. Nice to meet you. Jason's told me about you. Wonders what he said. Probably nothing good. They're shopping for nursery furniture, talking about baby names. He's excited about being a dad. She's excited about everything. They're a team, a unit genuinely in love. I'm standing alone with my organic groceries. 38, single, no prospects, no future that looks like theirs. They leave, his hand on her back, protective, loving. Hear him say, love you. She says, love you more. Simple, uncomplicated, no strategies, no tests. Just love, actual love, the thing I forgot to prioritize. Sit in parking lot, staring at my phone. Dating apps open. Same cycle, same standards, same results. FDS taught me to know my worth, to demand value. But it didn't teach me that love isn't a transaction. That relationships aren't negotiations where you extract value. That sometimes the best partner is the one who's just good to you. Not perfect, not constantly improving, not performing. Just good, kind, present, caring. Jason was all those things, and I rejected him for it. Push him away because he wasn't perfect enough. Because he couldn't meet standards that were impossible. Now he's having a baby with someone who loved him as he was. And I'm alone, still looking for someone who doesn't exist. Still believing that somewhere is a man who'll meet every standard. Who'll jump through every hoop, pass every test. Who'll prove his value continuously, never fall short. That man doesn't exist, or if he does, he's smart enough to avoid me. This is my life now, 38, alone, high standards, no relationship. Running successful event planning business in Nashville. Coordinating other people's happy moments while having none of my own. Still convinced I'm right, still convinced I deserve more. But wondering late at night if I deserve anything. If I had my chance and ruined it through criticism. If Jason was the one and I push him away. For not being perfect enough to meet standards. That were never about love. Just about control. And proving I was worth something. By making him prove he was worth me. But worth is subjective, and love isn't a test. It's just two people choosing each other, again and again, despite imperfections. I never chose Jason, I auditioned him. And he failed, not because he wasn't enough, but because nothing would ever be enough. For someone who didn't know what enough meant. That's my story, that's my mistake. That's what female dating strategy cost me. A good man, a real relationship, a future, all traded for standards that left me alone. At 38, watching him build the life I could have had, should have had, if I just loved him. Instead of trying to level him up, he didn't need leveling. I did, and I learned that too late. 3 years too late, after he found someone better. Not more beautiful, not more accomplished, just better for him, because she loved him, and I never did. That's what I live with now. Every day, alone at 38, planning other people's weddings, while having none of my own. Still on the apps, still maintaining standards, still believing somewhere is someone who'll be good enough for the woman who wasn't good enough to love a good man when she had him.